Hello everyone, today I'm looking at an older game, Battalion Wars 2. It's funny, I've been looking at some of the games I used to own on the Wii that I kind of sold back in the day, and I've kind of been rebuying them thinking, oh yeah, that game was actually kind of half decent. And Battalion Wars is one of those games that was pretty unique and pretty specific, and going back and playing a little bit after I've expanded my repertoire, it gave me some interesting insights into it. Mainly being that it's basically a version of Battlefield Modern Combat, which I found pretty interesting. Specifically, Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, in the sense that you can switch between different soldiers on the battlefield by holding the A button, and so it's a really kind of ambitious, interesting mix that we still don't really see today, where it's a mixture of a third-person shooter and an RTS. It's kind of been something that I've always wanted to do with a lot of RTS games that I really love, is that I wish I could go onto the battlefield itself and take direct control of one of the units there. And besides games like maybe Battlefront, this is the only game that actually lets you do both, where you're commanding a huge, not just a squad, but all of your forces at once in a very kind of simplistic and streamlined manner. So the main mechanics of the game are we actually shake the nunchuck to jump, you press A to command your troops, you press B to hold down and fire, you press the D-pad to select different varieties of troops in different subsections, and then you press the Z button to target things. And basically, depending on what you target, if you press A, then all your troops or the selected troops will attack, or if you hold down A, it'll quick swap to the selected troop. And this game includes foot soldiers, flamethrowers, artillery, tanks, airplanes, navy. It actually does quite a lot of stuff, and I think it does it fairly well. Again, the main kind of gist of the game is the fact that you can mix those RTS and TPS strategies together on the battlefield, and it feels honestly a lot of fun. It's a very engaging mechanic to be able to quick swap between different soldiers. The way it works is also if you press A to any group of soldiers, it'll tell them to stay or follow. It obviously is very nerfed in terms of its RTS elements. You can't really make new troops, but you can certainly rescue them and add them to your roster. So there's very minimal management, and it's very much focused more on the TPS experience more than anything else. I honestly think a sequel to this would do pretty well in modern day. I feel like the one thing it's missing is ability to direct troops to very specific areas and things like that. But overall, it's a really fun experience despite its limitations, and also it just feels like a more kid-friendly or streamlined version of the Battlefield experience. It almost feels like the Lego Star Wars version of that game, if such a thing ever existed. The actual story in Battalion Wars 2 is not really important, but essentially there's this ancient battle between the Zalaxians and Solar Empire, i.e. Germany and Japan, where there's a doomsday weapon which has resurfaced, which was used in that war, and now the current state of the world is worried that a nation will resurrect it and claim supremacy over the other nations by claiming to have it in their arsenal. And so because of that, there are various series of wars from different factions, which are basically the Japanese, Germans, Russians, Americans. Along with each faction, there's a different style of technology or weapons. The Solar Empire has kind of light-based plasma weapons, while the other factions have different kinds of special units, very similar to Red Alert 2, if anything. I think the one thing that is charmingly cheesy, but also somewhat frustrating and annoying, is really the fact that whenever you fire a weapon, the sound comes through the Wii remote, which obviously is something you can turn off, but it's kind of the intended experience from the developer that you have a very low quality sound effect always blasting at you. The game itself was actually surprisingly challenging in certain places. They really expect you to manage your resources well. For example, it's a very kind of on-the-fly version of rock, paper, scissors, and certain strategy games like Fire Emblem, where you have troops that beat certain units. You have anti-artillery units for the air units, and of course you have heavy weapons units for tanks. And it kind of works in that little triangle ecosystem, but very fluidly and dynamically. If you find yourself too far into enemy lines and there are anti-air turrets, you can almost guarantee that all of your anti-air is completely eliminated and you have no choice to go back to the previous checkpoint. Again, I don't think this game is honestly great looking back on it. I mean, it's serviceable, it's an interesting mechanic, but that is really the main thing. It's a very interesting mechanic that didn't quite go the distance with what it was doing. I still think there is some kind of juice or fuel here that really could make a really interesting experience, but they just did not really, deliver that with what we have here. I really like, honestly, the designs of the tanks and the characters. I think they look very kind of cool, but kind of cute looking as well. It's a very action figure-ish kind of look to them, and I feel it just hits that sweet spot. Again, that's something that would remind me of Lego Star Wars or something, a hyper simplified and streamlined version of a large-scale military shooter. But yeah, that's Battalion Wars 2, and yeah, I guess I'll see you later. Bye.